I organized our first event some time ago. I think many of you were there. And that was called Future of Human Capital Management in the context of future of work. So this is the second in that series. And I first like to welcome our panelists. They don't need introduction from me. They're well known, but still for the sake of my satisfaction, I'm going to introduce the three panelists. First is Srirang. Srirang has been my friend for 25 years now. We met each other sometime in Chennai, so 25 years ago. And we have been very, very good friends. And today when I asked Srirang, can you please come? He immediately said yes. I'm very grateful to you, Srirang. I know so the stress you go through the job.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you for having me over.
Yeah, I started with RV College, Bangalore. I didn't know you were an engineer, Srirang. And then Kolkata, MBA school. But it's outstanding work has been in ICICI Bank, 20 years, right to the top. And I think Srirang is one of the few people I greatly admire for his simplicity, his access to his people, etc. I asked one of his colleagues to describe him, and therefore I think the introduction will be a little more interesting than reading standard write-up. His colleague said Srirang understands human emotions and is very sensitive and practical. He's a master strategist, very tech-savvy and digitally oriented. He loves tennis, loves dogs, even though he does not own one. Fundamental point for transformation is employees. And the charge lies with leadership, and most employees are ready to change. That's what Srirang said, and I quote from Business Today article. I don't think we can agree more. Srirang is also very focused on education of his two children. I believe one of them is a national level TT player. Congratulations, Srirang, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, sir.
Our second, so go ahead, Srirang, sorry.
No, thank you so much for having me, Murali, because as you mentioned, some of you are such dear friends, and we've all been together for over 25 years. So it's a pleasure to always be in any forum that you host. And most importantly, I think the quality of discussion has always been very good, because I think you get out the best from all of us. And I must also compliment you for having done some homework much beyond what profiles we normally share. So that talks a lot about you, Mody, the manner that you operate. I'm pleasantly surprised, because this is not normally what happens in most panel discussions. Standard introduction. So it was very personal and very touching. So thank you so much, Mody. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Our second panelist is Zubin Mody. Zubin agreed to come only because I had to stake my friendship with him. In fact, he said, Murali, please excuse me. He told me 4 times, and all the 4 times I said, no, no, no. And finally, I found out, and he said, for the last 25 years after passing out of XLRI, he's never been to an HR forum. And he's never spoken there. So he's already threatened Shanta that he's going to listen to her. So Shanta, be beware. And he's going to be a good listener, but he's also going to be very, very important to listen to Zubin, because he rarely speaks. But my little bit experience with him is an outstanding thinker. And he's been born in schooling in Jamshedpur, then went to XLRI. But he's a Mumbai Vasi for the last so many years. Initial part of the career, Marico, Haynes. But I think, interestingly, ICICI Bank and ICICI Lombard for 6 years, and now IndusInd Bank from 2005. I think the entire growth of IndusInd Bank is partly attributable to Zubin, though he might deny it. Again, I asked some of his friends about him, and he says Zubin has a very high EQ, very high sense of humor. He always the one to break the ice, release the pressure in a pressure cooker situation with humor, said one of his colleagues. Zubin is very perceptive, easy to get along, highly energetic, and very knowledgeable person, said another. The last portion is interesting. He's a non-drinking Parsi. I don't know why, but he's married with 2 lovely daughters. Thank you, Zubin.
Thank you, sir. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Shanta is a special is a special in this group. She's a firebrand, high energy professional. Her voice itself carries to across the rooms. She spent over 20 plus years in retail banking. She's one of the very special additions in HR where she came from the retail banking side and then came into HR. She worked with ICICI Bank again, American Express, and now with RBL Bank since the beginning. So like since the beginning of time in RBL Bank in 2010, Shanta is the centerpiece. But more importantly, he's a very close family friend of mine. And she's a very personal inspiration to me many times. When I'm down and out, I always talk to Shanta to get my spirit up. In my heart, I believe in it. In my mind, I can conceive it. That's the philosophy of Shanta's life. She's passionate about many causes outside of RBL Bank, which is her number one family in RBL Bank. But she also supports, along with IIM Ahmedabad alumni, 10 Udbhav RBL schools. The first school is already started, 9 more to go. She's involved in blood donation, women empowerment, and many causes. She said in a recent article, the pandemic has turned out to be a litmus test for many organizations on their preparedness for uncertainties. I agree with you, Shanta, in toto. Shanta is married to another dear friend, Jasmeet Gandhi. She's one of the Telugu girls married to Sardar, and she has got 2 lovely daughters. Thank you, Shanta. You always, both you and Zubin, all of you are there for me, I know. But apart from, I am the one common factor, the second common factor is ICICI Bank. So I want to thank ICICI Bank formally for creating some outstanding professionals.
Thank you, Murli. You started well, so I'm sure we'll end well. And it's a good start for the evening. We needed some motivation in pandemic times. And I think you added that to all of us. And it's nice to have my colleagues. I'm more excited about also chatting with them. Both Srirang and Zubin are, we've worked together for many years and we're still in touch. So it's a good feeling to have all 3 of us here. And thank you, Murli. It wouldn't have happened without you. Thank you so much. And of course, TMI.
Thank you. I'm just going to set the context why are we here. First is, whether we like it or not, we acknowledge Corona has changed everything. For you, the banking professionals, the change is very deep. And I believe, in my own limited knowledge, the retail banking space will undergo transformation. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But for us in TMI, COVID has changed everything. I put in a lot of effort for 31 years along with Ravi and many of the professionals in TMI. We built 3 separate businesses entirely based on customer support and demand. Today, we are back to the drawing board. We are starting all over again in terms of reconstructing, rebuilding TMI. Today, we are integrating 3 business entities, which we built over 35 years in talent acquisition, learning science, and training into single customer offering. We are adding predictive analytics, and we are also tying up with AI and tech startups. In short, TMI is transforming from a 3 services company to a single CTS group, consulting plus technology and services group. I must thank every one of you who come here, who are our customers and well-wishers. Without your support, we would not have come this far. Especially when I remember starting TMI 30 years ago on 50,000 rupees of equity in Mahalakshmi Temple. Now coming back to retail banking, we have been engaged in this retail banking and hiring and training over the last 14 years. So that's a little longer than many. Zubin is 15 years, Shanta 10 years, but we've been here for 14 years. Our interest in retail banking is very long and deep because of very important customers like Axis Bank, IDFC, IndusInd Bank, RBL Bank, many other banks. There are, of course, many benefits and challenges coming out of COVID. I think there are many benefits, but to me, the advantages are 2. One, direct selling, which is what we do at the asset side and liability side. They will become more and more customized, tool-based, and it will be more and more amenable to analytics, thanks to a lot of recording of video conversations and so on. But another big benefit I see, which is basically sales careers, suddenly may pick up. So far, it is not a first choice for many people, young people. They also want to be in operations. But with digital selling and non-face-to-face and non-street selling, I think it may change completely. And I think I see this as a core benefit of this entire COVID. and digital selling. To the challenges, at the core of the challenge is the changing human capital management of sales professionals. And that's the topic for today. We will debate on the extent of this change and our preparedness, both at the organizational and the individual level. Before I hand over to Ravi, I want to show you a small 2-minute video we made. This is a topic which is close to my heart, and TMI is close to TMI's heart. And I'm going to write about it more about it in my columns. So can I have the video, please, Vamsi?
आज रात 12 बजे से संपूर्ण देश में संपूर्ण लॉकडाउन होने जा रहा है।
फिर आई देखो भीड़ यहाँ, बाकी बैठे हैं घर पे पर टूटा था खैर जब आई नोटबंदी थी। बैंक में जैसे लगी सब्जी की मंडी थी, लंबी कतार लगी ग्राहकों की। दर्द हमारा दिखे ना, सरकार भी तो अंधी थी, गंदी थी। ड्यूटी में देखो फिर बैंक करे लीड यहाँ, रोज जाते हैं ऑफिस सुबह प्रभु का नाम लेके, बेवजह हम छुट्टी नहीं करते। लाइफ चाहे रिस्क में, कोई बहाना नहीं, हम काम से नहीं डरते। देश में लॉकडाउन और हम लड़े फ्रंट पे, है ये सच्चाई ना कोई पब्लिसिटी स्टंट। ये सेवा करने की खाई है सौगंध, कोरोना के खिलाफ हम जीतेंगे जंग, ये हम जीतेंगे जंग। सच्चा देश का सिपाही कौन? बैंक कर्मचारी। जो करे ना लापरवाही कौन? बैंक कर्मचारी। दिल से करे सेवा ग्राहकों की, जिसका काम है इलाही कौन? बैंक कर्मचारी। सच्चा देश का सिपाही कौन? बैंक कर्मचारी। जो करे ना लापरवाही कौन? बैंक कर्मचारी। दिल से करे सेवा ग्राहकों की, जिसका काम है इलाही कौन? बैंक कर्मचारी।
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think this is something we wanted to say with all our heart. And I'm going to ask Ravi now to take over from now. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Murali. Welcome everybody, especially the panelists. We look forward to have a very engaging evening. So I just wanted to set only one ground rule. People are, of course, most welcome to ask questions. But please raise your hand. You can click on your own name in the participant list and raise your own hand so that the moderator can then permit you to ask your question. I have some questions, of course, of the panelists, which I will ask, and then we will throw it open. But I would like to, that's the only ground rule. There are no other ground rules. We started very much on time and we want to end it on time. We appreciate so many of you taking time off to come here, and I am going to try and drive the clock so that we end it on time. I would like to start by doing a very brief presentation on, I think there's a question in many people's mind, why is TMI doing this event, right? We just put together 5 slides on this. Anand, is my slide visible? Just let me know that it's visible.
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah. So our thoughts briefly captured. I know these are change times, very difficult times. It's also interesting time. Despite what Murali said, we are trying to figure out a lot of new things. It's also frustrating times, perhaps occasionally. And I heard that in the early part when Zubin was talking about it. So the first legitimate question, why should TMI worry about this? I think a lot of bankers we have collected today, over 115 people are there, about 20 odd are our own. Over 90 bankers are there in this room, right? Our future is very... someone is talking.
Anand, can you please mute everybody, please?
Done that, sir.
The panelist.
Done that.
Our future is very strongly coupled with the bank's future. Last year, we just nudged over 100 crores, and a significant part of our business actually comes from banks. We dropped our recruiting from in 16-17, we were very large numbers. We were recruiting nearly 30,000 people a year till 16-17. We shut down one of our entry-level recruiting businesses and then rebuilt it inside TMI. That was in a sister company. So now today the bank FLS is roughly 34% of what we do hiring. And this year, of course, we were hoping to do much larger numbers with Axis, IDFC, and Kotak Bank. In terms of training, nearly 80% of the business that we do. Okay, let me take the onboarding business first. In terms of onboarding, the numbers are again very large in our onboarding business, and significant numbers of onboarding we do for banks. Similarly, in training, it has shrunk over the last year. We have deliberately gone into expanding our business into something else. But even today, a significant portion you can see in recruiting, in onboarding, and in training, and increasingly in our learning business. We do a lot of e-learning and m-learning. Banks are becoming very important for us, right? So how do we perceive these times? Before the panelists give the banking perspective, I think it would be also interesting for the bankers to know how a recruiting services firm or a training firm or a learning firm like us, how do we perceive these times? We also see a lot of change. We have no understanding of demand with Q1 nearly ending, and no understanding of our own cash flows and our own bankers' thoughts. Bankers want to help us. The RBI's guidelines say something, but sometimes they're able to help us, oftentimes they're not able to help us. These are very difficult times. All our contracts are under pricing pressure, and I'm honestly putting it out there. Everybody is asking for, if I can use a harsh word, absurd reduction in pricing, because you guys are under pressure. We understand that. With a lot of idle manpower, we have cut some staff. After long deliberation, 3 months, we kept them on, and then now we've cut a little bit. Daily cash management, we've gone into something like that. Typically like a small Marwadi company, we're looking at cash that comes in the morning and what cash can we release and what do we hold. It's also very interesting times. We're doing a lot of new business models out there. How do we integrate multiple service lines from the company? So we got a consulting piece mixed with a technology piece, mixed with a service layer. That's the mode that we are going, and also adding some of our digital marketing into it. So we're looking at new modes, new methods of working. We've gone into bots in a big way as an auto.
Anand, just maybe Zubin has to be unmuted, Anand. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, are we good?
We've gone into gig works in a big way. Work from home, though our offices are open. I've come to office today. I came in yesterday. There are less than 15 people in this building, where normally we have over 220 people working in the building. Today there are only 15. We're being very careful. One, to avoid the risk. Two, we're seeing whether we can sustain productivity from work from home, not bring them on. It's also frustrating times because we're not sure if our customers have decided or not decided. I'm sure you're also unsure as to what the future is. So it's a lot of frustration too. But what we are seeing, and when we are talking to many of you across banks, across insurance companies, across pharma, the sectors that we work in, there is some fundamental change we believe is happening out there. And that's what we want to check out with all of you, especially in the banking side for sales professionals. And we want to know how this is going to change the way that we will assess, hire, train, skill, sustain, any of these, because customers are unlikely to want to meet FLS. FLS don't want to go out and risk the infections. and the COVID scare will continue. We think there is some change that's happening out there, some fundamental change. We're not sure yet. We've talked to some of you, and quite a few of you have agreed with us. Yes, sales is likely to become more digital, and FLS will need to connect online or over phone with customers. And everybody nearly says that yes, there is a need to even upscale the current FLS. And most importantly, the new people whom we need to hire, they will be younger, they will be digital ready, but will they be sales ready? And how do we make them hunters and farmers? And will we need to train? So these are some of the questions in our mind, which we think are important for TMI to figure out, and perhaps service providers like us on the HR side to figure out. And I'm sure banks are already thought these through, and you guys will help us get some answers, and perhaps the sharing of knowledge between you all is going to give a lot of clarity to each other and to us. Interestingly, we did a very quick survey on the banking FLS over the last 2 days, day before, and we just got this idea a little too late. Otherwise, we could have done much larger numbers. We picked people off the job board, now first, and that's the pattern of the people that we managed to connect with in terms of from which bank, which zone, what type, and years worked. There's a detailed report we'll share with you, and if required, and I think it might make sense to do it internal to a bank too, we would gladly collaborate with any of you to do it inside your own bank. Not all the data I'm showing here, there are just 5 top interesting insights I want to show. Interestingly, 66% have commenced working. Out of that, almost 35 have done a lot of work, and some have commenced working. That means they're saying that they've started trying to sell, and some have even closed. On the other side, 28% are bored or extremely bored and want to start working. They're not getting the green signal from their boss or from their own employers. 42%, like I said, have begun selling in May. Another 40% are under training, or they're trying to figure out. So at least some action has begun. This is an interesting way, interesting insight. Almost 2/3 believe the old way of generating leads won't work, and close to 3/4 believe customers will not agree to meet with them for pitching and closing. They've already spoken to potential customers, and this is the feedback that they're giving, right? So that means some of the facts or some of the fears that TMI has had could be true, and I'm sure some of you in the panelists and some in the other room also think similar. The last one was again interesting when we asked them, will you be able to meet your targets, and how quickly will you meet your targets? About 35% of them said we will do it very quickly within a month or 2. 44% believe it's going to take time. About 10% significantly long time, and about 12% are not sure of meeting targets at all going forward. So they feel they're not equipped, and they feel they may not be able to succeed even if they were successful earlier. So these were some interesting insights. And I'm sure this leads up automatically to questions of the panelists.